What's up, party animals? So today I want to give you all some warnings on the coronavirus antibody test. I want to talk about some things I think you guys need to be aware of. So I want to talk about how do you get antibodies, what limitations does the test have, a little bit about community surveillance, the FDA's emergency use authorization, and then lastly, some concerns I have about classism and why do you have to be a celebrity to get a test. So first of all, how do you get antibodies? So you can get exposed to coronavirus in a few different ways. We know you can get it in the air, so that somebody coughing, sneezing, little droplets can come in and populate your respiratory tract. You can get it from a surface, so somebody coughs on the surface, you touch it, you touch your nose, scratch your eyeballs, something like that, and your body becomes exposed to this. When your body is exposed to anything that it deems as a threat, it will develop something called antibodies. And those are just little proteins that act as markers for your immune system to come in and destroy it, to digest it, move it out of your body so that you can, so you're not affected by whatever. So the antibody test, that's what it's testing for. IgG, they're called IgG and IgM antibodies. There are some limitations to the test. So first of all, there are different kind of tests. There's a qualitative test and quantitative test. The qualitative test just tells you, do you have the presence of antibodies or not? A quantitative test would tell you how much antibodies you have, but unfortunately we don't really know how much makes a person immune. There's so much we don't know about coronavirus. The question is, so I take a little bit of my blood, I put it in a capillary tube, I take one of these tests, and it says, yes, I have the presence of coronavirus antibodies. Okay, does that mean that now I have a new lease on life? I can go out there, head to a house party, French kiss some random strangers, whatever, get sneezed on by somebody with coronavirus? Is that the case? And the answer is no, because even if you are positive for coronavirus antibodies, it does not mean that you are immune to coronavirus. So the problem is that you don't know how many antibodies would mean you're not even going to get it. You could still have coronavirus antibodies and get deathly sick and die from the coronavirus. Now, is it useful for diagnosis? So one of the problems is that it takes a while for you to develop antibodies. So if you are sick and then they give you that rapid test, and it says, okay, you don't have antibodies, you could still have coronavirus. That's why they would still need to do the swab test to tell you if you actually have coronavirus. One thing that these antibody tests are useful for is for community surveillance, to kind of see how much of this virus is out in the community, whether a community is kind of almost starting to develop herd immunity, whether kind of also to get a little bit more of a sense of how dangerous coronavirus is, and kind of when can we start returning to normal. Now, the FDA has an emergency use authorization, which means that they have authorized some of these tests. If you have any input on whether you're going to, on what test you're going to get, I would use one of those under the emergency use authorization, because that is some standard. We know that the FDA is probably rushing through this, but at least it is some standard. Obviously, we don't have a year to wait before we certify these tests, but they are at least looking at the data to get those tests approved. And just one kind of broad question for the audience. Why do you have to be a celebrity to get an antibody test? There are all these asymptomatic people who are celebrities who are like, yeah, I have the coronavirus, but I didn't feel anything. And then I'm thinking to myself, then how the hell did you get a test? I guess if you have the money in the cloud, or you're famous, or I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and he's talking to Tim Dillon, and he's saying, oh, we're going to get everybody's going to get an antibody test, and Tim Dillon's like, oh man, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go on a cruise. I'm going to do, In reality, those are probably the last people that should be tested. Those are people that should just be inside. They don't have an essential function. Entertainment's not an essential function. It's really down there on the list of functions that are essential. I think we should get the test before the celebrities. The custodial workers in the stores, they should get them before the celebrities do. People in the Amazon warehouses, there's so many people in there, in a distribution warehouse for food. I mean, these are the people who should be getting the antibody tests, not, Joe Rogan or Ellen DeGeneres, we should be giving it to the essential workers. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any stories about coronavirus, I mean, one of my friends, he was sitting next to somebody with coronavirus for like 20 minutes. I mean, this is really permeating. It's affecting everybody. And I want to know, if you guys have any stories about coronavirus. And if you have any questions, let me know. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thanks a lot.